Hey guys, it's Lorelei with a Custom Assets for RPG Maker tutorial, part 2, making Autotiles. Today I'm going to show you how to make an Autotile base reference that you'll want to use for all your Autotiles going forward. We'll be using this base in the next video when we make an actual cobblestone path Autotile. You do not need to be an artist to make game art. In this series, I am showing you how I learned to make custom art for my RPG Maker project without really knowing what I was doing. I'm here to inspire non-artists to give it a try. You do not need to watch part 1 of this series, but if you wanted to, it's all about making characters and other event graphics. The next video will be about making cliff tiles and other B, C, D, and E tiles, so stay tuned for that. For this tutorial, we'll be using Photoshop because it's great for this hand-drawn style I'm going for, but if you prefer using another program, just make sure it has a pattern mode or something similar so we can make seamless tiles. For example, Sprite and Pixel Edit both have tile features you can use, and the same principles we learn here will work in those programs too. Before we begin making our own tiles, let's take a look at how RPG Maker formats their Autotiles. If you already know how Autotiles are set up, you can go ahead and skip to the next chapter, but I do think it's worth watching just to avoid some confusion later. The first thing we're gonna do is go to Help, Contents, type in Autotile, and go to Asset Standards. If you scroll through here, you can see how they set up the tiles, particularly the A tiles, which all need to be auto-tiled except for A5. This resource is important because it explains how shadows are auto-generated, the weird placement rules on the A1 sheet, like where waterfalls can go, and the rules for what floors can be used in the automatic dungeon generator, and things like that. But for our purposes, we're just gonna look at the existing tile sheets. So A1 are animated Autotiles. We're not going to be making animated Autotiles today, simply because I don't really have a good workflow that I'm confident with yet for those. But they are set up the same as regular Autotiles, except they loop through these 3 to create an animated effect, just like the stepping animation for characters. A2 are ground tiles like grass and paths. These are what I'll call full Autotiles because they include inner corners, which I'll explain later. A3 are building tiles. These are simple Autotiles because they don't use inner corners. And A4 are wall tiles. These are a combination of full Autotiles and simple Autotiles. So let's look a little closer at these A2 ground tiles. The top left of the Autotile is the engine's preview of the tile. It's not actually part of the tile itself. The top right of the Autotile are the inner corners, and the big bottom area here is the center, sides, and outer corners of the tile. The Autotile is then split up like this. Notice that we're not working exclusively with 48 by 48 anymore. The corner tiles are 24 by 24, and the side tiles are 24 by 48. The 24 comes from half of 48. So if you're using size 32 tiles, then half of that would be 16, not 24. Then the main middle tile here is 48 by 48. The sides and the middle tile are going to need to loop and be seamless with both itself and its surrounding segments. For a better look, here is a reference that I made. You'll see that the side tiles are broken down further into 24 by 24 segments. The top and bottom of the sides, and the left and right of the sides. This is how they all fit together. If you look over here, you'll see how the sides loop. They'll always go top, bottom, or left, right, unless inner corners are involved, which I'll explain in a bit. The tops need to be seamless with the top corners, the bottoms need to be seamless with the bottom corners, and same with the lefts and rights and their respective corners. Things do get a little messy when using the inner corners, but it's not too bad. Basically, the inner corners will replace one segment of the sides. So they will replace the top, bottom, left, or right of the sides, depending on the shape. When you start making the tile, you only need to edit these 13 segments. The rest of this document is just a preview so you can see how things look and how they're seamless with each other. Before we make our Autotile, what I'd like us to do is first remake this base reference. Remaking this will do two things. One, it will give you a more working understanding on how the tiles are set up and how they link together. And two, this is going to act as a base Autotile for all your Autotiles in the future that you can use again and again and save you a ton of time. It's a lot of work up front, but it pays off later. For example, if you look at these A2 tiles that I made, you can see that this farmland was clearly made with my reference. I never made the inner corners for this farmland because I wasn't planning on ever making a shape that used the inner corners. It was always just gonna be a rectangle, so I didn't even bother. The one we'll be making in this video is actually going to be a lot better than the one I have here. We're going to add some lines along the edges so that we can kind of visualize what the tile looks like. Additionally, we're gonna fix what I messed up here. This LR should just be R and then L. But instead of fixing this document that's already a little messy, we're just gonna make a new one. So to start, we're just going to focus on this top left section here that is 96 by 144. So let's make a new document that is 96 by 144 and zoom in a bit. Just like in this reference document, we're going to color in each of these cells with a different color. You can go ahead and use the color wheel if you want to, but for this tutorial, I'm just gonna quickly choose colors from one of the built-in swatches in Photoshop under Pure. It's got a nice little assortment here. So let's grab our marquee tool, go to View and make sure Snap is on so that now when we highlight this cell, it's going to snap right on our grid, making it a lot easier. So let's highlight this top left cell, pick a color and fill this in. Before you unselect, get your brush tool, make it white, and what we're gonna do is make a nice little curve here. So this is going to tell us that this cell is a top left corner. Then you can deselect. You may be wondering why we are even bothering with this top left section, since this is just the preview of the Autotile, and that is really just personal preference that I like having these 4 segments to be the 4 corners of the tile. And I'm pretty sure that's how the default tiles are set up too. Next, we're gonna make a new layer, Control-Shift-N, pick a color, grab the marquee tool and fill that in. Then before you've deselected, make a nice little white curve with your brush tool. It's nice if it aligns with this other corner, but it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just for reference. Make a new layer, highlight this cell, grab a color, orange, fill that in, and then again, before deselecting, make a nice white curve, and then you can deselect. Then for our last corner, let's do the same thing. Instead of yellow, I'm gonna go with green, and then draw a little curve. Before we move on, it's good habit to name these layers. So I'm gonna name layer 1, top left corner, then top right corner, bottom left corner, and bottom right corner. Next, we will do the right side of the Autotile. These are the inner corners. So go ahead and highlight this cell, make a new layer, pick a color, and fill that in. Now with our white brush, we're going to make a curve that looks like this. So it's a bit of an inverted outer corner. Deselect, make a new layer, highlight, and color, and draw a little curve. Make a new layer, highlight, color, curve, and then our last inner corner. Okay, let's name these. This is top left inner corner, top right inner corner, bottom left inner corner, and bottom right inner corner. Now we'll do this big section down here. We've already done the 4 corners here, so we don't have to do them again. Instead, we're going to work on the sides and the middle. So make a new layer, and this time we're going to highlight 2 cells, 48 by 24, the 2 in the middle here. So let's grab a color and fill that in. This time, with our white brush, we're going to draw a line along the top, and then we're going to label the left side of the top side and then the right side of the top side. These 2 sides need to be distinguished from each other, but the entire thing is what loops in on itself. And that'll make more sense once we start making the tile. Okay, deselect. Let's do the same thing on the left side here. This time 24 by 48, these 2 cells. Grab a color, fill that in. Draw a line along the left side. And this time, write a T at the top for top, and then a B at the bottom for bottom. Let's do the same for the bottom. New layer. Fill that in. Then a white brush along the bottom like that. We're gonna say this is left and this is right. New layer. Fill this in. Grab a white brush. Add a line and say this is top and this is bottom. Finally, we'll do the middle. So highlight all 4 of these little cells and fill that in. This time with our white brush, we don't need to draw any lines. You could go ahead and make it an M. You could leave it completely blank since you know exactly what this tile is for, but I'm gonna go ahead and just make it a big X. And then let's rename these layers. So this is top side, left side, bottom side, and right side, and then this one is middle. Now we have to move these corners to their respective slots down here, and this is where the magic happens. What we want to do is make sure whenever we edit one little segment, one little cell, it's going to update across the document everywhere that cell occurs. To do that, we need to turn these layers into smart objects. So let's go to the top left corner, right-click, and say Convert to Smart Object. Now what we're going to do is duplicate this and move it down to its slot. You can go ahead and press Ctrl-J and drag it down that way, but something a little quicker is to make sure you're using the Move tool and to hold down Ctrl and Alt and drag this down to where it belongs. That duplicates the layer while also moving it down, so I think it's just a little bit faster. Now I'll show you what I mean by these smart objects. Double-click the icon in your Layers panel, and it's going to bring up this PSB. Zoom in and make a little edit to it, doesn't matter. I'll just do a little squiggle and Control S to save and then go back to the original document. You'll see that both instances of that top left corner have updated. This is going to be the backbone of our Autotile making process. So now whenever we edit any of these, it's going to update across the document, which is going to make creating these Autotiles much easier. So go back here, I'm gonna undo that and press save and then close this out. Now I'm going to turn every one of these layers into smart objects. Okay, now that they are all smart objects, I'm going to Control-Alt this top right corner and bring that down. I'm gonna bring down the bottom left corner and the bottom right corner. And now we're basically done. This is a fully functional Autotile. It's just not gonna look very good if we put it in the game. Before we start making the Autotile though, it's good to have all of these shapes in place so that we can see how each individual segment of the tile fits together and flows seamlessly with the other segments. So what we're gonna do is basically copy the reference that I've already made. To do that, I'm going to drag out this window and move it on over here so that I have a quick look. And we also have to increase the size of this document. So what size is our base Autotile? It is 528 by 312. We're gonna go over here and go to canvas size and say 528 by 312 and click the top left arrow so that the canvas is going to expand to the right and to the bottom. Then press OK. Now we're going to duplicate these cells and move them around to fit these various shapes. So let's start with this cross up here. With the Move tool, I'm going to Control-Alt this top left corner and bring it over. It's 3 little cells over, according to this reference. And then I'm going to go ahead and move the top right corner over too. So the top of the cross is going down, so we're going to need the 2 vertical sides, the top bottom sides, and we're going to move those over. The trick is to make sure your tops align with your tops, so that the top of your sides align with the top corners. Next, we can see that the cross is going to turn left. Let's add an inner corner to that B. And this is a situation where the inner corners, as I mentioned before, replace one side of the side. So in this case, our inner corner is going to be replacing the bottom of our left side. The way the document is set up right now, you can't actually see the inner corner because it is behind this layer. So what we're going to do is find all of our inner corners, highlight them all, and bring them to the top of our document. Now I can move this over and it covers up that B. Okay, so the cross is moving over to the left, so we're going to need a top side. And this is a situation where you might mess up. Remember that because there is an inner corner here, it's going to take the place of one of these sides. And in this case, it's going to take the place of this right. So that's going to go right on over here. Another trick you can use is if this was here, and then we wanted to bring over the top left corner to make our shape, well, we could put it here, but then you notice that the shape isn't correct. It's not the right size as this one, is it? So we could move it over, assuming it was on top, which it's not, but that's fine. Just pretend it's over that L there. Then we've messed up again, because even though it's the correct shape, the R on this side is not going to flow into this top left corner. The left is for the left. So we want to make sure that the left segment goes to the left corner. Next, we'll grab our bottom corner and then our bottom side. And again, we want the left side to be attached to our left corner. The cross is going to go down. So we need an inner corner, cover up that R. Then we're going down and we want to bring this down. So where I placed it now is wrong. This inner corner takes the place of one side of the side. So in this case, it's taking the place of the top. Plus, when we move this bottom corner down, the bottom flows into the bottom. Let's move over this corner and this side. We need an inner corner so we can turn, and it's got to cover up that T. Bring over a side, and again, we want the L to be underneath. Move over a corner, move over a corner, and then the top side, we want the R to connect to the right corner, and we want the L to be underneath the inner corner that's not there, so let's bring our inner corner over. And that is our cross shape. Next, we're going to make a horizontal line. This one's fairly simple. Just bring over a corner, then the top side and the bottom side, and then cap it off with another corner and another corner. We'll do the same for a vertical. Let's add the 2 corners at the top, bring over the left side and the right side, and then the bottom 2 corners. Now we're going to make this big shape here. And the purpose of this shape is to see how the sides and the middle are seamless with each other. So let's bring over a corner and then the top side, and we're going to duplicate this top side so there are 2 tops. Then the top right, let's bring over the right side, bottom right corner, bottom side, bottom left corner, and then the left side and the left side. Then we're going to bring over the middle and duplicate that 4 times. Next, we're going to make the same shape, except this time there are no tiles in the center. So it's going to look a bit like this, where the tile is on the outside, but the inside is blank. So I'm going to copy the same shape we have above. And then instead of filling the center with the center tiles, what we need to do is to fill in the sides. So we'll move the inner corners over. Let's grab this top left inner corner, and you might be tempted to put it on the top left. And that's where our lines come into play and what makes this resource a lot better than the first resource that I made without the lines. Because now you can see where the main tile is and what the edges of the tile are. So in this case, this inner corner, the edge of the tile is this little bit on the end, and the main tile is the larger part. So for example, this little corner could be grass, and then this large part is the cobblestone or the wood or the dirt, whatever tile we're making. So visually, we know that this inner corner should go on the bottom right. So it's inverted from what you would expect it to be. Same with this guy down here. So this is a bottom right inner corner. We want it to be on the top left. This is a top right corner that we want to be on the bottom left. And this is a bottom left corner we want to be on the top right. We want to do the same thing with the sides. So this top side, we actually want to be on the bottom. And just as I had been saying, the inner corners are always taking the spot of one half of one of these sides. So in this case, we want the L to be covered, and then we duplicate that so that now the R is covered. Next, we'll bring the bottom sides up. The R will be covered, and then the L will be covered. We'll bring the left side over to the right so that the T is covered, and then again so that the R is covered. And then again with the right side coming over, the T is covered, and then the B is covered. So now what we have are the sides that sort of mimic the horizontal and vertical sides that we have up here, except these ones have inner corners. And then finally, we are going to make these twisty, curvy shapes that sort of look like this. This is going to put our inner corners to work. So let's start at the bottom left, so it's easier to just build our way up. And start with this bottom left corner, and then the top left corner. And we can see that the shape is going right, so let's do this bottom side and move that over. And then we see that the shape is going up, so let's grab the bottom right corner so that it starts going up. We need a side here, and because it's going up, we'll put the right side here. And remember, we want the B to connect to the bottom, right? And in this case, we're going to need an inner corner because it's going up, so we need a corner here. Let's grab this one. And remember, they always cover one side of a side, and in this case, it's covering the right. Then we can grab another side because it's going up. And right, this is wrong. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that the inner corner is covering something. In this case, it's covering the bottom. Okay, and now our shape is turning right. So let's put in our right corner. And it's going this way, so we'll put in a top side. We'll put in a bottom side. In this situation, we don't have the inner corner in yet, but we can visually see that this isn't correct, so we need to move that over. It also matches the horizontal shape that we've got here, right? The R's on top of the R's, the L's on top of the L's. There is a method to this madness, I promise you. So let's move this inner corner over and it covers the T. Then the shape starts turning up, so we'll add a corner there. We'll add a side that goes up and another side that goes up. And again, the T's can go next to each other and the B's can go next to each other. But we need that inner corner that's going to cover the B. And then we will cap off the tile with the corners. I'm going to go ahead and do the same shape, just mirrored. And we are done. This is our Autotile base reference. Make sure you save it as a PSD. So I'm going to save mine as Autotile base and then get rid of this base Autotile. I don't like it. This one is so much better. And now whenever you want to make a new Autotile for your game, all you have to do is open up this base, go to image duplicate, call it whatever you want, and make all of your changes here. All of the smart objects are going to update so that you can see how all of the tiles fit together without any guesswork or without constantly updating it within your engine. It's going to make your life much easier. In our next video, we are going to be making an actual Autotile using this base reference. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it demystified Autotiles for you at least a little bit. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Drop a comment. You know how it goes, and I love hearing from you guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye!